Our next guest is Lauren Charles. Lauren graduated from the UO's School of Law in 2011, and she shares that she lucked into her current role managing large-scale civil litigation matters for the federal government. A little over 6 years ago, Lauren moved to DC for a law clerk position with the Department of Justice's Civil Division. She spent that first year researching and writing briefs and generally being bored to tears. Then, once she was assigned a large immigration case with lots of moving parts and lightning fast discovery deadlines, things started to change. She was exposed to the teams directing the department's discovery efforts and keeping trial teams on track. That's when work started to feel like fun. Since then, she's been dedicated to managing teams and developing expertise on how technology complements the practice of law. She's now a lead project manager supporting the Department of Justice and several other federal and state agencies. Her focus is on bringing in new technologies to meet case needs with an emphasis on the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. Lauren lives in Maryland, just outside of DC, and still misses Oregon almost every day. Lauren, thanks so much for being here.
Hi, everyone. Really glad to be here. It's awesome to see so many faces. So looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, Lauren. And our final guest, anybody can jump in next. Lauren, you're next on my tiles. So if you want to take it next, go.
Sure. Yeah. So, I guess I can start on like how I got here first. I actually was working at the U of O. I was in admin, helping to run the admissions office. Loved the work, wanted a new challenge, started looking at how to get into what I considered the big show, which was federal litigation. I was like, if any of the work that we do here is affected by policy, it's coming from the federal level. In my mind, that's where I wanted to be. So look for a job, got a job, moved to DC, so pumped. I was like, I am awesome. I understand all of these things I learned in school. I love Civ Pro, so I'm gonna love this job. No. So like maybe 3 weeks in, you realize that almost every case that comes up against the feds gets killed on summary judgment, almost every single one. So you end up writing the same summary judgment brief constantly. You just change the caption, you change the authorities, and then you just file that, and then it's dismissed, it moves on. And after a while, I wasn't learning anything. And I was like, if I'm not learning, I'm not growing, this is not what I want to be doing with myself. So like I said, in a little bit of the intro, we got a big immigration case in because folks were really coming at the Obama administration for several different reasons. And this whole team had to get to work. It was immediate 24-hour support for the case team. Trial was imminent. And they said, whoever can get in here and learn how to do this work, we need you to learn it. And I was like, okay, let's go. So I realized that there is a whole team behind the team that makes their work happen. So as much as you see like your trial lawyers out in front doing all their thing, they're arguing in front of the judges, you have an entire support team that are also experts that make sure that the trial team knows what they're doing and what they're saying and how to find the stuff that they need to prove their case. That's the team I wanted to be on, and that's the team that I am on now. So my day-to-day is really, what is the government being sued about? Every case you can imagine that is in the news comes across my desk or somebody on my team's desk. So in the past 6 years, we've handled everything from like sanctuary city cases, like I said, immigration, transgender in the military, Hillary Clinton's emails back in the day. I mean, all of those things are happening. And luckily, I don't have to be the person who signs my name to all of the briefs and motions that get to the court, but I do make sure that stuff happens. We really are there as a project management team to interact between the technologists who get the discovery requests through the process and the case teams who have no idea what they need to actually try their cases. So having the law degree is super helpful. we have a shorthand with all our case teams. That's really awesome. But we also have to learn the technology, which is the part that's really cool. We have cases that are looking at 4 million records. There's no way for you and 3 of your colleagues to read all of that stuff. So I am really involved in making sure we can bring in the machine learning and the artificial intelligence technology to just tell us what's there without us having to read page after page after page of documents. And then I help the case teams through from the start of discovery all the way through trial and sometimes to appeals. The work is cool, but more than anything, it's like the business side and the technology side that I really love. And I never could have imagined that work while I was at U of O, but I'm really glad I had the background that I did have while I was here, because it's helping me every day.
And so I wonder if we could switch for a moment and just talk about, the importance of feedback for a second. And so Lauren, Kyle, I can imagine in your work, you're getting a lot of feedback all the time. As you're looking to kind of maybe share some tips with 1L students about how to take and incorporate feedback in their work as they're looking ahead to the summer and long term, I guess, what would either of you offer in terms of what you've learned from how to pivot when things maybe don't go the way you anticipated the first time, and how to take and incorporate feedback from those that you serve, colleagues, supervisors, either of you, and actually anybody that wants to take it, but I want to turn to Kyle and Lauren first.
I'll take this one first. I think, yeah, so feedback is tricky. In the last 2 years, my job has changed a lot. For us, COVID has not been the same level of disruptor, because I totally work for the machine and the machine has to keep running no matter what is going on. That has been hard because I am a boss, so I have to make sure that like my clients' needs are being met, but I also am a boss and I have 45 people who report into me who all have their own personal struggles, right? So I'm juggling the feedback from the organization is not supporting us as people. What does that look like in an HR sense? Oh, I am sick currently. Like I currently have COVID, or someone in my household has COVID. What do? I can't lose my job. I can't lose my health insurance. You all are not doing enough. How do I juggle the expectations of the organization providing assistance to the federal government with everybody sort of piling on, like we're all in a crisis? What is the human moment here? Honestly, I've had to take a lot of steps back to see everybody's motivation. My goals, I've gotten to be a little bit more honest with people these days, for better or worse. But it means that I have to have like real talk conversations with everybody. Hey, I feel like I am failing here because this is not happening the way it needs to happen. You're unhappy with wherever you are in the sort of phase of the game, and nobody's goals are being accomplished. So I need you to help me be a better leader. I need you to help me be a better boss, because we also have to make sure that we all have jobs tomorrow. So it has been a lot of willingness from me to say it's not enough to kind of like carry the party line anymore. I guess in that sense, COVID has changed my perspective with everybody I interact with on a daily basis. It's like, hey, okay, you're sick. I get it. I'm going to make sure your job is here, but like, we have to figure out how to get you back on track, back in the game, and still performing. And so you really have to understand where you are in the grand scheme of things, right? Like you have, like, again, we talked about managing up, right? I have to be able to tell my supervisors what they need to hear, but also the truth that helps protect my people in my downline also. So it's a juggling act. And I don't unfortunately get to like kind of stalk off and be pissed as much as I would like to. I kind of have to rally in ways that are like a lot more fluid than I used to, because things are coming at you from all different directions. We talk about system thinking a lot, and it's not just the system of like what your job is, but there's sort of like a meta level of the job too, right? Like everybody has something else going on that's affecting them. And you have to kind of pull all of those pieces in. Like you become sort of a mental health consultant, and you're also like learning about how like your business processes also matter, right? We talked about like how fundraising stops, and how everybody's like personal stuff at home is influencing how they look at every other thing going on. You have to be like much more nimble now, I think, than you've ever had to be before. And it's a skill, and you have to be like kind of gracious with yourself. You got to learn it. It won't come instantly. But I'm looking at the challenge as something that's fun, and I'm also looking at the challenge as something that will pass, hopefully sooner than we think. But yeah, you definitely have to take a beat more often than you would imagine, even when things are moving this fast, and process everything and then still be yourself. Classes I sort of enjoyed the most, they were actually, I think, some of the hardest classes in terms of like the preparation you had to do day to day. Con law was awesome. We had Professor Raban, and again, I don't think he's still at U of O. I'm not sure, but oh, he is.
Oh yeah, going strong.
Oh, Ofer. So he just made us work for it. Like every day made us work for it. And I sort of learned the importance of over preparing for things that really matter. You read all you can, you write as much as you can before you get to the point where it actually is like critical. And then once you're there, you can relax into the conversation in a way that you didn't know that you could, because all of the things that you've already gleaned are like background, right? So you're able to sort of pivot while you're there. This is the biggest thing that I need to do every day. So I talk to a ton of people. I already like love people and I love to talk. And so that was easy, but it's not just the talking, right? It's the listening. What are you hearing under the thing that they said? How can you get as much information as possible in such a short amount of time? For a lot of these things, you don't get to go at it twice, right? Like you have a pitch at a meeting, you have to be persuasive immediately. You are trying to help someone and prove your expertise so they trust you. You can't fumble it. So you have to do everything you can on the front end. And then from there, you already have a foundation of competence, really. And that is the biggest thing that I learned. So everything from like LRW, I still do this now. I have to be brief and I have to be succinct in my communications. I sometimes write like very long technical explanations in emails about very esoteric things. Like if I'm talking to you about algorithms that make predictive coding matter to a case team, I can't like fluff that. Like I can't just like go on and on and on. They want bullet points, they want it clear. I literally write like the focus of this email is this. This is what I'm trying to get across. And then I write the email and I erase that. But even now, I mean, these are skills I learned 1L year. They are invaluable, and I teach them to my staff, right? They're like, oh, I love the way you wrote that. I was like, let me talk to you about Professor Rockland. She was amazing. She taught me how to do this, you know, because it does matter, and not just, you know, like your legal career, right? I feel like I'm like legal adjacent, and I'm really okay with that. But everything I learned in law school has been super helpful. So yeah.
You know, Lauren, I'd love to just ask you, you know, you're working at this intersection of law and technology, and I'd love for the students who are hearing what this and maybe feeling excited about it, to hear a little bit more. Did you have any kind of background in tech or, you know, computer operations or any kinds of background in that area before you got into this position?
Not really is really the answer. So I started undergrad as an engineer many moons ago at this point. So I do tend to think that way. But again, I don't like being put into a box. I don't want to work in a lab. You know, I have to be able to interact with people. So I'm always trying to find a way to bring that way of thinking into certain things. And the technology piece is just, they make sense now because, again, I'm always trying to solve a problem. So I need to know as much as my analyst will tell me to be dangerous, right? Like, I want to know how to press the buttons to get the work done, but I am not pressing the buttons. I am selling the workflow to do this, right? So I do demos. I make sure that folks understand that, like, this is where you start if you don't use this technology, and this is where I can get you to. But it's at the point now where our levels of communications need this additional layer, and I don't want to be stale, right? So I have to learn it, and my team has to learn it, and I have to be able to make sure everybody understands the value of it. So I am a big proponent of uh, sort of segmented learning. So even when I was at U of O, you know, helping run the admissions office, we started talking about how we were going to get a 1L class in that looks like this class, right? Like, we want to make sure like the stats are right, but also the community is right, and everybody's like working together and love each other and everything else, because U of O is very special and we want to make sure it stays special. Well, I took a statistics class at the business school. Like, I just signed up. I was like, I'm going to figure out how to make what I know make sense on paper to my stakeholders, right? So I took the SAS class. I figured out how to put together predictive modeling, brought it to admissions, and then ta-da, right? Same thing happens at work. What I'm doing right now is not working. How do I learn just enough to get me to the next step? And then we'll see how it goes. And then you can use an iterative process to get you to the next phase. So I don't think you have to have a tech background. I think you have to like learning, though. And I think everybody here in law school has to like learning. I mean, you're just getting information shoved at you all day, every day. But that will serve you going forward.
But I am going to invite each of our panelists, with the last few minutes that we have, just any final closing tips that you have for 1L students who are thinking about what's possible with their JD, who might be considering non-practicing positions after law school. Any tips you have for them with respect to their career path, kind of staying open and expansive in terms of options that they might pursue. Any tips on networking, just final golden nuggets that you want to leave them with that we didn't get to cover already. I'd love for you to have the floor. And each of you, if you want to take just a minute or so. Marissa?
I just have a quick one. And this kind of goes with sort of our theme. But I understand everybody has to eat, and you have your, you know, your things that are like very real. You know, if you have kids at home, you have to care for them. But don't let the money be the thing that gets you to your next step. Things work out. They do. They may not be as straightforward a path, but they work out. Get in touch with folks. There is money out there that you never know about, to like bridge your way to something awesome. So, you know, all of us are here. Becky can get you in touch with every single one of us, and there are more folks who can help you, even if it's just a brainstorming thing. Hey, I like to do this. It doesn't feel like it's connected in the law. We'll find a connection. And yeah, you just be open, even if it's a small thing that you're up to most immediately after you get out of school or in the summer. There's something to learn there. There's something to find out about yourself. Um, and also, it will totally be okay. Um, I know like 2020 was just like a hot mess, and 2021 is looking only slightly up from there. But I know that these folks, like me, finished school in a huge economic downturn, and we're here on the other side of that thing, and we're okay. So you will be too.